we're going to speak about a famous Italian rabbi, Rabbi Chai Moshe Di Poggito. Very, very great rabbi of his time. And I believe he passed away on the 26th of Tebet back in English year 1816. We're talking about approximately 210 years ago. He was a great rabbi of his time. He was born, actually, I believe, over possibly around the year 1732. So that was obviously nearly close to 300 years ago he was born. And let's explore a few of the famous rabbi's life, because he would really make his mark in his life. He was born, I think he came from a rabbinic auspices. I believe his father was Rabbi Chaim Di Poggito, if I'm not mistaken. And Hagar Livorno, Italy. I think they would actually originally the family was from Livorno in Italy, and eventually end up in Halab, in Aleppo in Syria, respectively, I think. And he was born in the year 1732. So very, very interesting family, and much more can be said within regards to that. Okay, I think this family itself, Mishpacha Di Poggito, Hayita Mishpacha Ashira Umuhubedet Ma'od. Apparently it was a wealthy family, very wealthy family, and an honorary family, we have to point out over here, which is very, very interesting. Apparently it's a family that was working in trades, let's just say, in of itself, but they would do huge amounts of charity work, working in foundations in Judaism, in Yahdut, and really doing, let's just say, an incredible amount for Am Yisrael at the time period, for the Jewish nation in of itself. And if I'm not mistaken, I think this is a family that very much does, even modern day, you can see many synagogues resembling this specific family name, we have to point out, which is absolutely phenomenal. So apparently it was then, and possibly now also. So that was very, very interesting. So we can see that they would be very famous, let's just say, all over Europe. Some members of the families would be consuls for various different governments in Europe. I think the countries that are actually stated here, just using the Jaime website, include Italy, Austria, also in France, if I'm not mistaken, and absolutely phenomenal different places. You can see the variety there. And I think this was because of their European citizenship, their good name, and they had very, very noble qualities, this actual family in of itself did. So, okay, so let's explore that with his education from a Torah point of view. Chacham Chai Moshe Di Poggito would get his Kibel et Reshit Torato Ma'aviv Umachachmim Shonim. He would receive a Torah education from his father and other great rabbis. Kfi Sha'id Al Atzmo Ad Hayoti Keben. It says over here, Tetva Bet Shvasa. When I think he was around 17 years old, Gedalti Ben Chachamim Mari the Muda. Actually, really be imbued with in regards to Talmud and learning. Af Memorim Pratim Shesachar Aviv. So he would have specific teachers, if I'm not mistaken. Kama Tarchot Terach Legadlani Ala Turav Ala Buda Lamit Li Rav Umore. This is what's actually stated over, just reading over from the Homey website. He'd have private tutors hired by his father, and he really I think there'll be an appreciation within regards to that, and would remember that all the Torah that was actually done, to make sure he'd have a great education in himself. I believe when he came, he was 18 years of age. It says over here, Kava B'yota Ben 18 Shana Yatza La'asuk B'mischar Va'al Avda Zo Hitzta'eh Kefi Shektuv B'Sifro. I think in his workings he will actually regret actually going to work. Maybe when he was 18, it could be maybe that because maybe he wanted to learn more also. Nachacham Chai Moshe Di Poggito Hitztayen B'tov Libo V'achnasat Orchim Shelo. He would do huge amounts, let's just say, of acts of kindness. If I'm not mistaken, he excelled in kindness and in hospitality. And what's interesting, we also have to point out over here within regards to him, Yachad Mishto Sheita Bito Shel Chacham Gilanti Rabba Rashi Shel Damasek. So it's interesting. I think his wife happens to have been the daughter of Rabbi Mordechai Galanti, who was, I think, the chief rabbi of Damascus in Syria, which was a huge position at that point in time. Very, very let's say, noble position, very prominent position to be a chief rabbi of that specific part in of itself. So that's very, very interesting. Remember, the Galanti family itself was a very, very great family over there, and we've spoken about various famous rabbis that actually came from this, let's just say, a great grandiose Syrian-based family. They were actually branched out all over the famous Galantis. Well, that's something that we have to point out about them. I think maybe some Rabbi Mordechai Galanti's works, or which he was connected to, if I'm not mistaken, are actually very much featured, I think, in National Library of Israel in the digital format. So I recommend everyone to look into that and learn more. I think there's different writings, especially from Damascus and Syria, from Tafkuf Lamed, if I'm not mistaken. I can actually see. I think, I think there was, if I'm not mistaken, much of these, I think, writings in general, which is actually featured in the National Library of Israel, are also maybe stored in the Jewish Theological Seminary in America, we have to point out. So, for example, I am on his National Library page over here at the moment while we are speaking, and I can see a ketubah, for example. That's one thing. I think there was a She'ilot Shuvot. It's Mordechai Galanti, if I'm not mistaken, that was actually from him. And I think very, very interesting enough, Rav Galante, and very much, I think that's actually in Ivrit, if I'm not mistaken, this specific thing. And this was Sefer Dveri Mordechai, I think, which is very different, Drashot, which is very much featured over there, and there's actually a page within regards to it. And I think there's other writings within regards to him, but I very much recommend everyone to learn more about him, and definitely more about the great rabbis that there were of yesteryear over here. Now, Rabbi Moshe Di Poggito passed away, I believe, on the 26th of Tevet, back in the year 1816 in Syria. He did. כשנתיים לפני פטירתו, הספיק להדפיס את ספרו ויחל משה, דרשות ודברי מוסר על ספרים בראשית ושמות. That's actually interesting. He would actually do a publication giving teachings over within regards to the book of Genesis and Exodus, which is obviously Bereshit and Shemot, and it was actually titled Vichal Moshe. This is actually see the preface as we speak at the moment, and which is absolutely phenomenal, because I think it's a great Torah book of its own right. That's something that we very much have to point out. We can explore a few of the teachings from the book in the coming minutes, but you can see the philanthropy, the greatness, the kindness within regards to this famous rabbi, how much he excelled within regards to it. And he lived, I think, approximately 84 years, if I'm not mistaken, the famous rabbi did. So that's something else that we have to very much point out within regards to him, just within regards to the great amount of work that was actually done. So that's something that I think it's very important to look at. I think there's other places you can find over where information is actually chronicled within regards to him. I think there's a specific page out there called the Miloroshet Yudi Surya or Lebanon, where they actually talk about him. Also, someone made a post at the time period, and the Haimi website has given over a very concise, let's just say, information within regards to this famous rabbi that would really make his mark in those specific vicinities of that stage in time. So if everyone will look at his preface, you'll be able to see just greatness within regards to it. It actually says, Hi Moshe Piotr. I think we can actually attach on the YouTube link the Sefer Shemot actually section on there, so everyone can see the picture. And I think in a minute we are going to watch and explore a few of the highlights from the books. I'm just going to be back in 1 minute, so please watch your space. I'm going to come take a short 1-2 minute break, and we're going to come back and explore a few of the highlights of the great rabbi's book also. Hi, Shalom, everyone. Thanks for being patient and just waiting over here. We're exploring the life within regards to a great rabbi who actually was very much part of Syrian, partly Italian, also over here on this special edition, just using the excellent notes of the Haimi website over here. Okay, so let's explore a few of the highlights of the great rabbi's books. Once again, his name, Rabbi Moshe Di Poggito, very great rabbi of his time. He teaches over Mashiv Rambam al Hatalmidei Chachamim Hamit Parnasim Ma'achirim. This is one of the great teachings he will give over, very much in the Vichel Moshe. This in Sefer Shemot, I think, concentrates on Pat Mishpatim on page 19 on Amud Aleph, if I'm not mistaken. I think this book was printed, I think, if I'm not mistaken, published in the year 1814, we have to point out. Another teaching, I think, of this says over Melamed She'afilu Rasha'im She'en Bi'adam Ela Zchut Hatzdaka Zochim. The importance of charity, even if someone is a wicked person or not a great person. And this actually is taken from Parshat Yitro, which is featured on page number 18, Amud Aleph. That's something that we have to point out. Another teaching, Melamed Chayavtan Lifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu Av K'She'enom Osim Ratzano Kru'im Banim. This is very much, I think, featured in Parshat Vayetze in the book of Bereshit over there, and that will be page number 17. Respectively. Another teaching he will give over Melamed Ma'alat Tzadikim Ochazim Masehem Af Bezknutam Bechashel Kocham. This I think it's actually featured in Parsha Vayechi in the book of Bereshit, which he's got over there in page 28 Amud Aleph. And that's another important teaching. And he's got another teaching here, Melamed Seder Tachnun. That's the supplication prayer that we actually would say over on a regular day, usually in the prayers. Shiyaskiru b'kol libam la'asod af ata haya rachum. This is a teaching that comes from the book of Shemot, from Parshat Ki Tisa, I believe on page 25 Amud Bet. And a final teaching he will give over here inside the book, once again from the Vichel Moshe in Bereshit, I believe in Parshat Vayeshev, on page 22 Amud Aleph. He says over Melamed Tana'ai Ahavat Ha'achim Shiyu Eino Pakachot Latzil Achim Mitzarato. And actually beautifully states over here on the Haimi website, it gives a description of that. I'll just read it in Hebrew, what it says over here on the website. Metna'ai avat achim ki ach letzara yoled b'kol saratam lo tzal. Hine lo yanu v'lo yishan v'ayu einav pekuchot b'kol asher yimtza et yado latzil et achiv. Metzarato hatzel yatzil. Leze yikre geber b'achiv. Ish b'achehu yidovku. וכמו שמצינו בראובן שנתן עצמו וחשקו להציל את אחיו, וכמו שהעיד עליו הכתוב, וישמע ראובן ויצילהו מידם. So one of the teachings actually given over that very much is actually encapsulated and stated over in Parshat Vayeshev that we must have to point out over there. So very, very interesting. So this rabbi would very much leave an imprint, I believe, on various areas. The family itself was from Livorno. Remember, we spoke about that. Italy was a bastion place of Torah learning in of its day, and that's something that we've pointed out and stated over on various occasions before here inside the series. Something very much we have to point out. It's actually got a beautiful preface to the book in of itself, and where it's actually very beautifully portrayed. I think there's a signature on it also. It does mention name of other rabbis also, I believe, on the book, which is very, very interesting and something that we very much have to point out. And I very much recommend everyone that if you're watching live, go to the Stories of Tzaddikim section that we've got inside our book, inside our channel over here. I've recorded over already approximately 1,450 great rabbis of yesteryear here inside this series. That's something I very much recommend everyone to actually look into, watch it, and educate also, because I think it's very important that we explore the life of great rabbis that there were of yesteryear, and you can see the pedigree and the greatness of the rabbis. This rabbi very much encapsulated the kindness, chesed, with the amounts he did, with the family did, with their wealth in of itself. And if it's the same family as here in modern day, there's huge amounts of work done with the people that's let's just say this family name in of itself. So that's something that we very much have to attribute to and say thanks to also. And how important it is, it gives us a lesson in life within regards to how important it is to do kindness with one's money. So this book, the Rabbi Moshe, was Drashot and Dveri Mosar, obviously on using these different principles, various different sermons that could have, let's say, a person can arise from the book of Bereshit and from Shemot. He actually used it to the degree to actually illustrate, let's just say, at that point in time, the importance of sharing over words of Torah on the weekly Torah portion. And this is definitely a great resource and a great book, especially to learn during these specific weeks where these Torah portions, let's just say, are actually very much featured. The Vichal Moshe, a very great book of its time and something that I definitely recommend everyone to actually look into and to actually write in of itself and to educate and to learn. That's something very, very interesting. So that's something that I would definitely point out over here. We're just going to take another short half-a-minute break and we're going to conclude this video. So just watch your space, friends, at the moment. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe to the channel in the meantime and join our fantastic community here. We'll just be back in 1 minute and just conclude. Hi, Shalom, everyone. Thanks for just being patient over here as we explored the life of a very famous rabbi of his time that happens to be Italian, also from Syria, from Aleppo, of his time, Rabbi Moshe Di Poggito, who was a very, very great rabbi. And the 26th of Tevet would mark his Hilula, which is very, very interesting. These days itself, let's just say, the 25th of Tevet, we very much already record biography videos, especially of Rav Shlomo Mazuz, who happens to be on the 25th of Tevet, obviously the day before this great rabbi was speaking today. And the 26th of Tevet is not just Rabbi Moshe Di Poggito's Hilula, also Rabbi Yoshua Maman, who passed away in 2018, happens to be his Hilula on this specific day. Could be he actually lived more than 100 years, if I'm not mistaken. Another famous rabbi on this day, who it's his Hilula, is Rabbi Mordechai ben Jo. Another Ben Jo, a very great rabbi. He lived between 1827 to 1917. And Rabbi Shalom Yitzchak Mizrahi, who lived between 1921 to 1995. It marks his Hilula over here on the 26th of Tevet, which we also have to point out. And the day after, 27th of Tevet, actually will be of Rav Kabayas Ben Zion Hori. I think he passed away in 2004. And the famous Rabbi Maimon Ben who lived between 1866 and 1958, if I'm not mistaken. He was a great rabbi. Let's just say 27th of Tevet, obviously being his Hilula. I think we did record a video about him last year, if I'm not mistaken, of Rabbi Ben Attar, which is something that we very much have to point out. Yeah, we did record a video. I think it was actually on the 28th of January last year. We would record a biography video within regards to this great rabbi also. And how important it is, I think he actually happened to be from Meknes, if I'm not mistaken, and was actually a Talmid of Rav Shlomo Toledano. And I think part of the yeshiva of Chacham Shlomo ben Amara, which we have to point out. And then I think eventually the family would go to Eretz Yisrael, and we spoke about that. I very much recommend everyone to watch over that specific video that we recorded within regards to him. So that's very, very interesting. Our friends, we're a community over here. We love learning about great rabbis of yesteryear. That's a fantastic project that we are doing at the moment. And another project we are at the moment currently working on, we do biography videos of great rabbis from yesteryear here on this series, which is very, very exciting. And we've already covered about 1,450 rabbis over here, which is absolutely staggering and absolutely phenomenal. And very, very, we appreciate obviously the brilliant feedback that we get the whole time within regards to all these videos, and how important it is that we keep recording these. And many people obviously do appreciate it, and that is something we appreciate. Also, all the great feedback that everyone gives to us. Also, we do on this channel over here, we record tours all over Israel. We like to travel around various different places and experience, let's just say, the archaeologies of places, and so on and so forth. And another very exciting project that we are working on at the moment is that we tour at the moment, do different tours, and we also have a great, let's just say, rabbinic personality on a daily basis that comes and gives us over a share or burst of wisdom. Let's just say we've been fortunate enough to have more than 500 rabbis and key Jewish personalities to actually record some real great inspiration, which has the feedback that we've had for this has been absolutely phenomenal. That's something I would very much have to stress over, and we've been very, very fortunate for all the fantastic feedback once again within regards to that. And I would recommend everyone to watch over those previous videos that we recorded over there. So please join our community over here, and very, very exciting. Hopefully we can grow all together, learn more together. We're going to educate each other, and whenever there's going to be the healer of a great rabbi, I'll be able to hopefully have the schut, the merit, to share it over with everyone. So much can be said over there. We'll just and hopefully we can do more special auditions. Also, another thing that we are doing on this channel is we record a daily tidbit of the Daf Yomi, a page of wisdom a day on the Talmud, which is actually very, very interesting and very, very successful. So I think on that note, I'm going to wish you well. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and watch over the previous videos. Thanks for watching, everyone. I appreciate it.